Welcome. Imagine if the electricity suddenly went out across the entire world, forever. All our photos, videos, and online information would vanish in an instant. The strange thing is, the more we develop, the weaker our methods of preserving information become. The phone in your hand might break if it falls into water, but the stone in my hand has survived thousands of years untouched. Today, we'll discover the secret. How did the information of our ancient Egyptian and Babylonian ancestors survive wars and disasters and reach your phone screen now? Follow along. It all began more than 30,000 years ago. Early humans couldn't read or write, but they wanted to leave a mark. What did they do? They used charcoal, animal fat, and natural pigments to depict their lives on cave walls. They drew the animals they hunted and the battles they fought. These caves were enclosed and protected from sunlight and humidity, which is why these drawings have survived for so many centuries and tell us about how early humans lived. In ancient Iraq, Sumer, humans invented the first writing system in history, cuneiform. Since there was no paper, they used wet clay. They wrote on it with a reed stylus, then left the clay to dry in the sun or fired it to harden it like stone. One of the most remarkable things that has come down to us is a 4,000-year-old clay tablet containing a complaint from a customer to a merchant named E. Nasser, who had sold him counterfeit copper. Imagine, kings died and cities vanished, yet this commercial complaint survived because it was written on clay. Around the same time, the ancient Egyptians invented something ingenious: papyrus. It was lightweight and easy to roll and transport, which allowed them to write everything: medicine, astronomy, and stories. But papyrus is made from plants, meaning it can rot or be eaten by worms if exposed to moisture. So how did it reach us? The secret lies in Egypt's dry climate. The pharaohs placed these manuscripts inside sealed stone tombs in the dry desert sands, and nature protected the paper like a refrigerator, preserving history. 200 years before Christ, a major political and commercial crisis struck the ancient world. Egypt suddenly decided to ban the export of papyrus to neighboring kingdoms, aiming to prevent other city libraries from competing with the renowned Library of Alexandria. At that moment, scholars and writers feared the loss of their knowledge and were compelled to quickly find an innovative and robust alternative for preserving information. They conceived a brilliant idea: writing on animal skins, such as those of sheep, goats, and cows, after chemically cleaning, treating, and carefully stretching them. This material became known historically as parchment. This new invention revolutionized the world of writing. Treated animal skins were far stronger than fragile papyrus. These skins were not easily torn, could be written on both the front and back, and most importantly, could withstand moisture, folding, and transportation for centuries without disintegrating or being eaten by insects. When you visit world museums today and see ancient books and manuscripts whose words are still perfectly clear, as if they were written yesterday, always remember that they survived and reached us thanks to these strong leathers that refuse to wear out with time. But what if there were no paper or clay? Here, humans used the most powerful storage device in existence: the human mind. Before great poems and epics were written down, there were people whose sole purpose was to memorize. They would memorize thousands of verses and historical accounts with great precision, passing them down orally to their children and grandchildren. Arabs, for example, kept their entire lineage and history in their minds. Human memory was the bridge that transmitted history long before ink touched paper. History is not easy. It is replete with wars and catastrophes that destroyed entire civilizations. During the Middle Ages, Europe experienced a period of profound ignorance known as the Dark Ages, during which most of its libraries and manuscripts were burned, and the sciences of ancient Greece, such as Hippocratic medicine, Aristotle's philosophy, and Euclid's mathematics, nearly vanished from the face of the earth forever. But salvation came from the East, specifically from the Iraqi capital Baghdad, at a famous historical site called the House of Wisdom, In this place, scholars and translators spearheaded the greatest intellectual revival in history. They collected ancient manuscripts from all corners of the earth, translated them meticulously into Arabic, and produced thousands of preserved copies. The caliphs in Baghdad encouraged scholars in an extraordinary way, rewarding translators with the weight of their books in pure gold. The scholars of Baghdad did not merely preserve and translate, they also contributed to the advancement of knowledge and corrected its errors. Centuries later, as Europe began to awaken from its ignorance, it took these Arabic translations and retranslated them into its own languages, laying the foundation for the modern Renaissance. If it weren't for this civilizational bridge built in Baghdad, more than half of humanity's scientific heritage would have been lost.
Even if we found the stones and manuscripts, what good would they be if they were written in a language we didn't understand? For many years, hieroglyphic writing was simply a collection of cryptic drawings whose meaning was unknown. Then, in 1799, soldiers discovered a black stone called the Rosetta Stone. This stone bore the same text in 3 different languages, one of which was an ancient language we understood. The French scholar Champollion was able to compare the languages and decipher the code. At that moment, we began to read and understand everything the pharaohs had written on the walls.
In our modern age, we no longer rely solely on what our ancestors wrote with their own hands. We now possess astonishing technology that seems almost science fiction. Even if ancient humans left us no books or manuscripts, we can today uncover their secrets and the details of their lives with incredible precision, thanks to modern archaeological laboratories. Using radiocarbon dating, scientists can now determine the age of any piece of wood, pottery, or bone with remarkable accuracy. Even more fascinating is the analysis of ancient DNA extracted from teeth and skeletons. Through this analysis, we learn about the epidemics that wiped out entire populations, the foods they ate, and where they migrated from. Furthermore, modern technology now uses lasers and X-rays to read ancient manuscripts that have been completely charred and burned by volcanoes, without us having to touch or open them to avoid damaging them. Archaeology has transformed into a kind of chronological crime, examining the evidence left by bodies and artifacts, allowing us to read history hidden beneath the earth without ever opening a single book.
In the end, this journey leaves us with a very strange truth. Our ancestors used clay, stone, and leather, and their messages survived for 5,000 years. As for us, all our history and images are stored on sensitive electronic chips that could disappear completely if the electricity goes out or a technological disaster occurs. The past reached us because someone toiled, preserved, and wrote on materials that defy time. Now, the question for you is, if you were asked to write one short message that would last for the next 5,000 years and tell our descendants about our lives today, what would you write? And what material would you choose? Clay, glass, or stone? I await your answers in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to join us on future journeys. Thank you, and goodbye.